on this computer. Oh, thank you. So we're recording. And so I'm going to try to get, let's see, I'm going to do a share screen and get this share screen thing going so that that's on there. And it's going to be up on here so we can see it. So I'll flip on this, turn off a little bit of this, see if we can see what we're doing here. It's only going to be 2 or 3 slides. Let's see. Maybe I can get rid of some of the light on the screen itself by doing a little bit of that. We'll see. Okay. So let's see. Here we go. Okay. Can you zoom in on me? No, you're zooming out now. Okay, but at least you see me, which is good. He's zooming in. That's fantastic. All right. So I left off here last time, and I was saying a few things about this being kind of similar to the Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. I mean, it's really a basic kind of a portrait that we've all come to know and love. The idea of the 3/4 view portrait, where the person is not facing straight out to the camera, and they're not facing at a side view, that silhouette kind of side view kind of a thing, but it's 3/4, so you can see both the front and a little bit of the side of the nose, and you get a little bit more of a 3-dimensional sense of the person. I was talking last time about the similarity between the sausage-shaped fingers on the one side and the sausage-shaped drapery folds in the elbow on the other side, and the sausages in the middle of his forehead. But what I forgot to say, and what I wanted to do, kind of weave in here, is the idea that when we are teaching drawing classes at the college level, at an art school or at a college, that there are several different kinds of line and line quality that we really teach in the drawing class. And this would be characterized as a contour line. And I'm going to go over here, see if the poor little guy can follow me. No, he can't. Okay, I'm going to write this on the board. Contour is the word, and you're not going to be tested on this. I guarantee you're not going to be tested on this. So, contour. God, I'm blanking on the other one. As long as I was here, standing right here with the thing in my hand, I was going to write it on the board too. Okay. So a contour line is a continuous line that goes around the outside contours of shapes. And even though it's not chapter 4 and we're not talking about shape yet, this is how line is able to really construct shapes, by going around the outside contours of shapes to try to create them. We really like contour lines in our drawing classes. And we try to get people to use this because it's a continuous line that we try to get you to really use without picking up your pencil, or especially without using a very hesitant kind of a line that we would call a construction line. Many of us come out of high school and we try to build the outside contour of something by kind of going a little bit and then coming back and going a little bit more and coming back. And that gives us kind of a broken, hesitant, kind of uncertain kind of a line. Whereas when we really work on our hand-eye coordination and being able to do a very confident flowing line to try to create the outside contour of something, we practice that a lot in the drawing classes. Then we master the idea of the contour line, which is a flowing, beautiful, continuous line that conveys a completely different kind of a meaning and experience of line than looking at that kind of broken construction line kind of a thing. For most of you who have not taken a drawing class, especially in college, this is probably a distinction without a difference. He's wondering, you're wondering, why am I talking about contour lines here? But when we get to college and art school, a contour line, especially a flowing, beautiful contour line, is a really important part of the drawing process. And of course, I gotta get this going here. Click on that so that I can do that. And then at the end of our chapter, you know, your authors are showing us a couple of different kinds of lines here. And I was asked by somebody in the class on Monday, what is a gesture line? And so I just want to talk about these two different kinds of lines that we're introduced to in our drawing classes, because this is definitely kind of a gestural kind of line. And I wrote gesture on the board over there. And so it's a different kind of a line than the contour line. The contour line would explore the outside contours of the shape, very slowly moving, kind of trying to capture exactly what the quality of that shape was. A gesture line is trying to explore the energy and the volume and the life force inside of the shape. And so a gesture line is kind of a randomized thing that bounces around, kind of searching in a random kind of a way to try to explore what the volumes of these shapes are. And especially if we're drawing humans, the human figure or something like that, we use the gesture line to explore the energy in the pose of the human, as well as trying to understand just a little bit more the forms and proportions of the human body and the human pose. Sometimes we use this as a warm-up exercise to warm up the students or the artist's hand before getting into a longer executed drawing. Sometimes those long drawings are done as contour line drawings with lots of shading, and we're playing with cross-hatching, other kinds of lines in the shading process. But in the early going, when we're just trying to warm up your arm and hand so that they, you know, it's kind of like a warm-up exercise in a choral class where you're singing and you do those really crazy warm-up exercises to get your mouth muscles and throat muscles and voice kind of woke up so that then you can actually sing a nice song in a chorus class. Choral music, choir music. So anyway, the gesture line is often used in our art classes as a warm-up kind of a thing. But you can kind of see the energy involved in this. So when Honoré Daumier, a fantastic 19th century draftsman in France who did a lot of political cartoons before he kind of created really the construct of the political cartoon that would be published in newspapers that comes down to us today as the political cartoonist little cartoon on the opinion page in newspapers. You know, he kind of developed the concept and got himself thrown in jail and all kinds of issues about freedom of speech and freedom of expression in France during the 19th century. And so he was a very skilled draftsman, and he's showing us here with these street performers, the person kind of up on the chair, singing a song and gesturing in space and kind of moving around. This is where the interest is in the composition. And he's showing us a lot of the energy involved in that with the gestural line. There is some gesture down here and a little bit more contour line, looking at the drum and stuff. But the gesture line is so much more interesting and active that it leads the eye up here, and this becomes the dominant area of the composition. So there is a place for the use of gesture line in a composition as a quick and dirty way of defining space, defining a gesture, exploring the kind of the energy of the composition, if that makes any sense at all. And so you can then use gesture line along with other kinds of constructs to create energy in a composition. And you know, we've got this painting called Trio here, and it's very abstract, but what the artist is trying to do is really create a sense of movement, of rapid, you know, choppy, allegro kind of movement, because the string trio is playing a fast moving piece of music. And by giving us all of these much more kind of chopped up gestural kinds of lines in the composition, it's showing us the speed and the tempo of that particular section of music. And even the music stands are vibrating because this thing is just humming and pumping right along here. So in art, especially when we go think outside the lines of just doing something that's naturalistic or realistic, we can start to play with the idea of the emotional content and the energy in the scene or the piece or something that we're trying to describe, and not just trying to describe the outside contours of the shapes in the composition. And I only say all this to you because I had to struggle with it so much when I was an art student. And I didn't really get the full-on explanation that I'm giving you guys now. So hopefully you're getting a little bit more of the foundation that goes along with the use of different kinds of lines in different kinds of compositions, so that you can understand it better when you look at it at a museum or gallery, or you can use it better as an artist in your own drawing and painting classes. And I'm wondering, is this my last slide? No, because in this particular book, at the end, we also kind of look at the three-dimensional possibilities of the use of line in this particular chapter. And so here we've got a sculpture that talks about just that lyrical, wonderful use of a flowing line that even comes back upon itself again. And it's made out of metal, possibly chromed steel, something like that. Stainless steel, forged rod. So a stainless steel rod heated up and bent and kind of played with, and then kind of welded back on itself and have the welds ground down again so that it flows very cleanly as a continuous kind of a flowing either Mobius strip or even a sense of infinity kind of a concept here. Construction number 8 or construction 8, and we get the figure 8 kind of feeling for that composition. So even in 3 dimensions, we can play with the concept, with the idea of line, and that'll do it for us. I'm going to now keep this thing running. I'm going to change from the PowerPoint presentation to my overhead cam here, just to talk just a little bit about our project, and then stop it. So I'm going to change cameras to the overhead cam and clip this thing up here so that I've got my overhead bird's eye cam right over my workspace. Hooray for us, hooray for me. Okay, so this is my desktop, and we'll get this thing kind of straightened out here so that it's nice for us to look at. Let's look at these things that I was showing us last time. So, of course not. Okay, so I just have to figure out what to do here. I'm recording. I've got to get out of this video. Okay, start the video again. There we go. All I have to do is start and stop it. No, it's just not doing it for me. Okay, life is not so good. Okay, I can't get out of this when I'm in a Zoom. Okay. Okay, how about if I go to screen share and hit screen 1? How about that? You guys are killing me. Okay, stop the share. All right. I thought this was going to be another way to show my technical proficiency with this stuff here, and it ain't happening, is it? That's just too damn bad. Oh man. Okay. Oh, I know what I have to do. God damn it. Excuse me. Every time I have to go into settings and I have to reset this thing every time because it resets every night. So in the system, I have to go down here and go to multiple displays. Come on, baby. Extend these displays. Duplicate. Okay, thank you very much. Keep the changes. Keep the change. Keep the change. All right. Get to the right camera. Is this so, was that so hard? Ugh. Okay. So we play this game a little bit. All I thought I was going to do was be able to talk about the concept. So I want you guys to use Bristol board and to use our template once again to create the format frame that we're going to work in. I want this done in pen, again, rollerball black pen, and try to make this line just as smooth and continuous as possible. Get a good medium point rollerball pen so that it isn't spotty or, it's not thick and thin and, running out. It's nice to have, again, when we're doing a very minimal kind of compositional thing, to have your overall composition as clean as possible. Every element, if it's well executed and doesn't look like the dog has chewed off the edges, if there's no rips or tears along the edges of any of your elements, if they have a nice, smooth, continuous line on them, if they look like they're well executed, then it looks professional. The effect is much more convincing. There's nothing to distract the viewer or the guy who has to grade these things, so that I can see this as a really good composition. So I'm looking for something between 7 and 13 elements, as linear or line elements dancing across the composition, and it could be either vertical or horizontal as you envision this. Just put your name on the back.
7 of them, sorry.
Pardon?
You said 7 of them? Or
7 as a minimum. I want at least 7 linear elements. They can be straight or they can have a curve in them, but not too much of a curve, something like this. And then you get to also figure out how you're going to cover the compositional space. This gives you the opportunity to get much more coverage of the compositional space than we were working with the squares. So we don't have quite as much negative spaces in between, but it is kind of nice to put these into like subgroups, in a little bit of groupings. So if you get 3 or 4 of them together and then just a little bit larger space, and 3 or 4 of them together, or 1 or 2 of them together and a little bit larger space, and then 3, 4, 5 of them together, you're giving us a little bit more of a syncopated rhythm to the rhythmic figure, and not just a boring rhythmic figure where all of them are exactly spaced the same all the way across the page. Okay, and then of course the concept, the idea, expressed even better here. We've got linear elements, and we've got some variety here because the linear elements are thin or thick, and they are spaced in different ways, and that gives us lots and lots of variety, even among the dancing linear elements that are sort of parallel to each other. And this is somewhere between 7 and 13, linear elements. And then take your calligraphic line and throw it through this thing however you want to. It can be on a diagonal. It can even come back on itself again, like in a figure 8 or some kind of interesting knot or something like that. It's nice when it is contrasting in color or value, so that it's not the same color as all of the black squares or the dark squares, lines, linear elements. So, but you guys get to do this the way you want to. So the spacing among the lines can be different. The lines themselves can be different lengths, different spacing, all of that kind of stuff, different thicknesses. And then you're going to try to also weave it together with some kind of interesting calligraphic line, so that we get something that is pulling it together, also doing something completely different, and something that may be going on the horizontal if these are all lined up on the vertical. On the other hand, if you are thinking of it like this, so that all of your lines are on the horizontal in a vertical composition, then your calligraphic line kind of again goes against the grain and does something else to kind of help weave everything together and pull it together and look at what the balances might be on the vertical in a vertical composition. For vertical, this is kind of interesting, and this would be something to talk about because there's a lot of weight, a lot of visual weight in the bottom, there's a lot of visual weight in the middle, and this thing kind of peters out up here, and there's a little bit less up here. So we could talk about whether this is, a successful, well-balanced, whatever composition, because there's a little bit less visual weight up on this end of it than there is over on this end of it. So some things to consider as you guys are playing with this stuff. And now I can cut this off completely because it's just, silly. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I guess I'm going to end the Zoom thing for everybody, and I'll try to post this